Women's Day or anything to do with women. I started working in this area from 2016, and it's just been an agenda that, like now, if anybody asks me what would you rather be doing, it's this. Prior to 2014, I never dreamt that this is what I would be doing at this point in time. I was asked particularly to talk about my experience as a woman leader, and the circumstances around it and how I perceive it to be. We all know about gender inequality. Our country is not foreign to that concept, but I'm very encouraged that the HFC Bank has a 50-50% division in male and females. So that in itself speaks volumes. Becoming a minister, getting to where I am, I throw it back to leadership. And because we live in such a gender unequal world, it's usually the men that is in leadership at this point in time. So I take my hat off to men in leadership, like your CEO, like my Prime Minister, like the Attorney General, who basically elevated me through the ladder in the civil service and gave me a seat at the table to be able to stand here today and speak as the Minister for Women. Like I said, prior to 2014, if anybody asked me, what would you be doing in 2014 or in 10 years' time, it would have never been this, because it was never part of my dream. And that, I think, is the way that we women are engineered mentally. We underestimate our capacities a lot of times. And I say this from my own personal experience. Serving in the Attorney General's office, we basically had to work our way up from legal officer to principal and state level. And at that time, I was told no woman had become state solicitor ever in the Attorney General's office. So the career path for women in the AG's office at that time, you reach principal legal officer, you go out, you join the private sector, or you join the judiciary. That was the norm. And in fact, when I became principal legal officer, I had a delegation from the Women Lawyers Association. Some women lawyers, very senior, who came to see me to congratulate me. But in that congratulatory message, they said, watch out, there's a glass ceiling above you. They talked about the glass ceiling. Okay, maybe it was because of the experiences of former lawyers that used to be there, and because no woman had become state solicitor above principal legal officer. But I never forgot that. I never forgot that because I took it as a challenge. I took it personally as a challenge. A lot of times when we're working as women, or men even, we come across challenges, and you got to make a choice at that point in time. You take the challenge as a reality, that's as far as I'm going to go, or you take it as a challenge. Take it as a challenge to go over that hurdle, whatever it is. So how did I get here? It was the Honorable Prime Minister. He said to me, I want more women in my party who are able to articulate themselves in Parliament. I couldn't say no to that. Prior to that, I gave him all sorts of excuses of why I didn't want to go into politics. I had a young family, and this was an opportunity for me, after I left the civil service, to spend more time with my family. And women as primary caregivers, this is always a consideration for any job we are offered, any promotion we are offered. In fact, when I was senior legal officer in AG's office, I was offered a job. Acting principal in Lotoka, go and run an office, be the boss. I said, no, sir. And he asked me why. I don't forget this experience either, and I shared with women. And I said, I don't think I'm fit for it. Again, that's a common issue that I find with us women. We underestimate our capacities. A lot of writings about this, research that's done, women who have been asked this question all over the world, it's evidence-based, that with women, we are judged on performance, and we judge ourselves on what we can or cannot do. Whereas for men, even if they know for a fact that they may not meet all the minimum qualification requirements, they'll take it as a challenge. They know they have the potential, they'll put their hand out. For us women, it's a bit harder for us to do that. That mindset needs to change. And to help us in changing that mindset, male leaders are critical in this effort for gender equality. So at HFC, I think you're blessed. You're very fortunate to have male leadership that is so acutely aware of the need for gender equality in your organization. And it is evidenced in the number of women you have in this organization. We can have the full capacities, but without the critical element of leadership to encourage us, to inspire us, to rise to higher levels, we may indeed be under that glass ceiling all our lives. So what is it like being a woman leader in the political sphere? A lot of challenges. It's very challenging. It's become for me personally, it's no longer just you as a person. Anything you say, everything you do, and as a woman, what you wear, what you look like, becomes an issue for the public eye. And that's the reality of public leadership, particularly in this country. And hearing from Prime Minister Ardern last week, they're no strangers to this as well. It's a commonality that we all share. And I think what we need to do to change this story around is basically changing mentalities. How we teach our children, particularly our boys. How do we raise our boys? I grew up in well, I'm not going to say era, it's going to make me sound so old. But when I was growing up, I basically lived the first 10 years of my life in town near my village. It's just about 3 hours away. So the village was very familiar to me. And even now I look back and I see the way that parents raised their boys. It was very different from how we girls were raised. The boys had the more privileged upbringing. I'm lucky that I was brought up in a family that didn't do that. My mom didn't do that. She raised us as equals. I wash my dishes, my brother washes his dishes. If I'm late home for dinner, my food is kept, my brother's food is kept. It's not like that in every family. So it really puts upon us as parents. And I say again, I hope I'm not being sexist by saying this, falls particularly on mothers because we are primary caregivers. Even as a minister, when my kids get sick, it's me who stays home to look after the kid or take her to the doctor. The primary caregiving skills that we give to our children will mold the person that they become later, the leader that they will become later, the husband that they become later. So a lot of what we expect in another 20 years' time will depend fully on how we are rearing our children at home. In the last Parliament session, one of the topics that came up was pornography. Some of us may have heard that conversation. We have a lot of challenges apart from pornography. Internet is one big one. There's another video that's circulating right now about an assault in an old boys' school between boys. There was one last week in a school nearby. Again, a game that went wrong. Boys getting involved in this. It brings again to the fore the importance of us as parents and how we raise our children in this day and age. With all the advancements that we have in technology, etc., we need to up our skills to be experts at those things so that we can tell our children what to do, how to do it, what not to do, and what to avoid. We cannot be effective as parents in this day and age without being experts ourselves. And I'm not saying this because I'm an expert on this. I get my 4-year-old to let it turn on the TV. We have become that. We have become dinosaurs in this age of internet and ICTs. But that needs to change. See, they're laughing because they know it's true. That needs to change. But back to the topic of gender equality. This is my first event for International Women's Day. And I like the fact that we are celebrating it ahead of time. And I know this is just a start to a few more events before the 8th. as a challenge, this is something that I'm taking to all employers who will be inviting me to talk to them about International Women's Day. You know, as a country, we've just recently signed up to a convention on sexual harassment in the world of work. We've had, as a nation, our stories also about sexual harassment in the workplace. There is an ILO, an International Labor Organization template on what a great policy on sexual harassment looks like. It's very easy to use. You just got to put in the name of your organization. But what's so special about this template is that it accords with the international obligations that we have as a country when we sign up to the convention. So I leave it to you, CEO, and your leadership team. If you have a sexual harassment policy already, great, but it might be time, an opportune time now, to look at how we can make it to accord with our international obligations. And is there awareness happening? Do we know, as a man or a woman, if we are sexually harassed at work, do we know what to do? Who do we go to? What is the mechanism in place to address that particular issue? What's so interesting right now in relation to sexual harassment laws in our country, while the Employment Relations Act does talk about the need for employers to have sexual harassment policies, it doesn't make it an offense if you don't have one. So again, that calls on leadership. How important is this particular policy in your place of work? Are we able to recognize it? I don't have all the answers. I don't even know what sexual harassment anymore when you look at it at the context of Vuniwaqa, for example, in the Itauke traditions. Where does it sit? These are all critical answers that we need to educate ourselves about. And there are experts out there we can assist in getting them in to unpack for us not only sexual harassment, gender equality, violence against women, and all these issues that permeate our society and add to the social ills that we're grappling with. So I thank you. I thank you for recognizing the contribution of women to your organization. I thank you for recognizing the importance of International Women's Day to our organizations. I thank you for elevating the status of the women in your organization to leadership and recognizing their voice, giving them a seat at the table. So to all the women and the men that are here today, I wish you all a very, very, very successful and enjoyable International Women's Day. And I hope that it will be a mark to further our work, our continued effort as a nation, individually and collectively as a group, to enhance gender equality and the empowerment of women in Fiji.
International Women's Day is falling on Sunday the 8th. So for HFC Bank, we thought we'd commemorate it today with the start of the week. And of course, we have other things planned for our women leadership at HFC Bank. We were really honored to have Honorable Minister Vuniwaqa grace our occasion, as a lot of us look up and very inspired by her being Minister of Women. And we really would like to extend our sincere thanks on behalf of our CEO and the team at HFC Bank and all the women leaders, as well as our male gender, for her presence here today. So the theme today was to get and inspire our women to showcase HFC Bank. Yes, we are 100% local, Fijian owned. We are very passionate and proud to be working for HFC Bank. And today is just a day to celebrate with all our women and our male friends as well, because we are very inclusive in HFC Bank. So yeah, that's the occasion today. We're so fortunate and so blessed to have Minister visit us today.